Greetings to all of you. This is the video segment pertaining to the Uniform Commercial Code, Article 9, involving secured transactions. And chances are I just lost all of you by describing that. What in the world is Uniform Commercial Code, Article 9, and secured transactions? Well, let's start out with the basics. Most businesses require money, or loans rather, in order to run their business. They need money, let's say, to borrow for the purpose of buying inventory to sell to their customers. And so they have to take out a loan and get the money. Loan is a contract, but many times the lender will require some form of collateral to make sure that that their loan is secured and they can have something to collect on in the event there is a default on the loan. Those types of transactions involving loans with collateral are covered in Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code. It gives a certain procedure when you're having loans for various types of goods. So in order to create a loan under Article 9 of the UCC, there must be certain elements or conditions that have to be met. Number one, the creditor must give value to the borrower. I got to lend you the money, basically. And the borrower must have some type of rights to collateral that they're pledging. Well, you got this wonderful antique watch that you're going to use as collateral. And so I, as a creditor, have to either take possession of that antique watch and hold onto it so that in the event you default on your loan, I get to keep the watch and then sell it and try to get my money back that way. Or if I don't take possession of the collateral, the watch or whatever that collateral may be, I have to file a security agreement as well as a financing statement to put others on notice that I have a security interest in that collateral that I don't have possession of. And that basically is an overview of a secured transaction under Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code. Let's go a little bit deeper though. A lot of debts are unsecured. I loan you money, we sign the loan papers, there's no security for that debt. If you default on the loan, I've got to take you to court and I got to prevail in my lawsuit. And once I get my judgment, I then have to go out and find where your money is, either in your bank accounts or with your cars and assets, or maybe even in your house, and try to get my money by getting a hold of those assets with my judgment and liquidating them and collecting on my debt. It's kind of a long process. Well, with the UCC Article 9, we use secured debt. We loan the money. The money is loaned to the debtor. They sign the note agreeing to pay off the loan, but they also sign a security agreement in which they say this is going to be the collateral that will be used to secure this loan. And if I default on the loan, the creditor can take that collateral and use it, sell it to collect their money on the debt. And there's a little diagram that gives that whole transaction of what we were just talking about. Well, what do we need for that? What do we need? What documents do we need for such a secured transaction? Well, you got to have the written document that the borrower signs, the loan agreement, and the debtor or the borrower signs that loan agreement. It has the essential terms. It's a written contract. And shows the terms and is signed by the debtor. What else do we need? We need the security agreement. This is a separate document. It can be written, a formal or informal type of document, identifies the debt, and it also if the creditor does not take possession of the collateral, it must authenticate the agreement and give a description of the collateral so that everybody knows about it. It's out there on notice. It's binding between the borrower and the lender and does not bind third parties. Well, how do we put third parties on notice if that collateral is part of the agreement and that the creditor has certain potential rights to grab that collateral? Well, what you do is you file what's known as a financing statement, or a UCC 1 form. You file that in the county recorder's office in the state or the area where the debtor lives, not necessarily where the collateral is located. It's called a UCC-1 form, and it protects the lender from competing claims. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, let's say somebody borrows money from you and they pledge something as a collateral, but then they also use that same asset as collateral to get money from somebody else. So what you want to do is have them sign the loan, have them sign the financing statement, have them file the security agreement, and then take the financing statement and file it with the county recorder's office. And the first person who files their financing statement is first in right, first in time. They're the ones that have the first right to that collateral. So it's a pretty important process to want to make sure that you are able to lay hold of that collateral in the event of a default on the loan. There are various types of transactions known as purchase money security interests. And that is a situation in which the creditor has an automatically perfected security interest in the consumer goods. The interest is normally perfected when you get the security agreement and file the UCC-1 form. In a lot of purchase money security interests, say transactions for the purchase of furniture, and it's on a loan basis, and if you default, you get the creditor gets the furniture back. Same thing with cars. You sign a loan for the car, and you get the car ends up being the collateral for the creditor in the event you default on the loan. In those situations, the creditor does not normally need to file a UCC-1 form, but chances are, although it's not a requirement, a lot of businesses still file the UCC-1 form with the county recorder's office when they sell goods on credit, just to make sure. It's like wearing a belt with suspenders. Well, what happens when there is a default on the security transaction? Well, when the default occurs, the creditor has the option to just take the person to court and get an overall judgment for all their assets if they want to, or they can foreclose on the loan and then and obtain the collateral that is part of that whole security agreement and get a hold of it. Ordinarily, you can't go out and get it yourself. However, in certain circumstances, you can, provided there isn't a breach of the peace. I mean, we hear about people who default on their car loan. They have their car parked outside. All of a sudden, they look out their window. Somebody is getting into their car and driving away. It's a repo man who has gotten the car and able to get a hold of it and get that collateral without breaching the peace. This can go sideways sometimes, though, when the repo man is in the process of trying to repossess the car and the debtor comes out with their shotgun. It can go sideways and ugly real quick if you're not careful. But the creditor tries to get a hold of that collateral either through the court system or through self-help methods, provided they don't breach the peace. If they default on a security transaction, again, what the creditor can do, they get the property as a result that's securing the debt. If it's insufficient, if they sell it off and get the proceeds and it still doesn't cover that debt, the creditor can still take the debtor to court and get a judgment for the difference, a deficiency judgment for the difference on what is still owed. Got to go to court, though. If the creditor gets a hold of that collateral, sells it, and there's way more than what's necessary to cover the debt, then the creditor can keep what they need to cover the debt, keep what they need to cover ancillary expenses to collect on that debt, all the reasonable costs as an offset, and whatever's left, they have to return to the debtor after they dispose of the property. Well, that in a nutshell covers UCC Article 9 secured transactions. We'll discuss it more in depth at the time of the class session. In the meantime, have a great day and stay safe.